One of the conversations that I am regularly involved in with my coaching clients is about employees and about how to ensure they're engaged, how to ensure they're involved, how to keep them coming back. We're in a time when quiet quitting is the new term. We're sort of in that post-COVID, still uncertain climate around employees and how this all operates. And so one of the important conversations to have within your company that you need to have, depending on the size of your company. If you're a smaller company, you need to have this with yourself or with somebody like me, or a third-party consultant who helps you with HR-related activity. Or if you have a larger team, your HR department, somebody who's running admin and finance, needs to be spending time on this particular category, and that is how do we pay our team, our employees, our people. And that particular topic is really one that a lot of companies don't spend a lot of time on. They think about it from a baseline perspective of what do we pay, but there's layers of benefit that come when you think about some other things. And this has been talked about for quite a while. And the terminology for this is total rewards. And so today what I want to do is really give you an overview of total rewards, a strategy around total rewards, how to think about it, and then ultimately how to improve your strategy in your company as a way to really combat some of the dilemma that many people I talk to are having as it relates to labor, as it relates to employees, as it relates to team members, and paying them in a comprehensive way around that. Well, when we talk about total rewards, the first question is, what is it? And the Society for Human Resource Management defines total rewards as this: a comprehensive approach to compensating employees that includes not only wages and salaries, but also benefits, incentives, and recognition programs. So essentially, it's not just what they get paid, it's pay plus. One way I like to think about it, it's money plus, or tangible and intangible. When you think about total rewards, it's what's the reward for somebody working for you? What's the total reward? What's everything they get? And so when you understand that there's more than the pay that they get and more than the benefits, if you can give them more than that, what's the total package they get when they work for you? Then if you understand the importance of that total package, so I as an employee give you my time, effort, and energy, and you in turn give me my pay, but you give me more than that, that's total rewards. So why should I think about total rewards? Well, as I just said, the workplace environment is in flux right now. And so a total reward strategy is a way to help you think about, how do I ensure satisfaction by my employees? How do I provide enough context, enough reward to make them feel satisfied about what's going on? How do I keep them engaged? How do I keep them individually engaged and engaged as a team? And there's elements of your total rewards philosophy and strategy that actually supports that. How do I retain people versus having them quit? And then when you've got that side of the equation sort of dealt with, then the other side of it is, can I attract new employees? Do I have the type of reward strategy that when I offer people jobs, there's an attraction to it? How about performance of my entire company? If I have an appropriate reward structure in place for my employees, how does that help my performance, and does that help my competitiveness? So over here, we've got culture. Over here, we've got a kind of a results focus that comes. And so part of thinking about total rewards is, and developing a strategy around it, is really understanding that it has an impact for you in your business. So when we think about that, then what we want to think about is, well, what's included in total rewards? And when you think about it, we've already talked about a couple, but I'm going to outline the six that I think there are different ways that people outline this. Some have more or less categories, but I've got six categories that I want to talk you through. And by explaining those, I think initially you'll understand that the first focus that you got to take is do you have a mechanism to provide a total reward to every employee who works for you based on these six structures. So the first one is compensation. What do I pay them? Second one is benefits. What is that tightly tied agreement that I have with my employees that goes beyond pay, that's now the benefit package they get when they're employed by me? So that's the next stage. The next one is well-being. This is one that has come, I think, majorly into focus in this last number of years. So well-being is now a part of the total rewards package. Recognition is part of that. Development, personal and professional development is a part of that. And then finally, the cherry on top is perks. And I really want to dig into all of these because they all matter. And so initially, I want you to understand that there are six categories, six major categories of a total rewards strategy that you might take that include the whole tangible and intangible reward that an employee gets in exchange for doing and coming and essentially working for you in your company. So start with, make sure you've even thought about these six. If you haven't thought about these six, then that's the first task you have to do to improve your total reward strategy, is actually think about all of these. All right, let's start with compensation. Compensation to me is the baseline. If you don't get this right, you really struggle with total rewards, because compensation is the baseline entry point for everything. But compensation is more than the dollar per hour or the dollar per year, the salary or the wage that you pay somebody plus the bonuses. And I find when I talk to owners, executives, the thing that I hear often as they describe what's going on related to employee pay is an employee's salary tends to be a number that sticks in their brain. Let's take, for example, a driver, a entry-level type driver or operator in your company. And a lot of times the number that we may have in our head is $15 an hour, $20 an hour. And that number is a static number, or we pay them $50,000 a year or $75,000 a year, whatever that number, and that static number it's in our head, it seems to be a stable number. There doesn't seem to be evolution to it. And then we throw in the Christmas bonuses or the spot bonuses along the way, and that's what compensation is. But the problem is it's not how you should think about total rewards. So how should you think about it? Well, I believe you should think about total rewards from the perspective of a compensation benchmark for each of the roles in your company. And I want to dig into this because this foundation is so important to how to think about total rewards in today's world, that if you fail to understand this, then what happens is you get caught up against employees leaving you to go to somewhere else that does understand this. So let's go through this. I'll try and do this quickly, but in enough depth so you really grab onto it. So we're going to go through these six categories of compensation to help you understand compensation benchmarks and how you should think about them for each role in your business. So the first thing, the first major part of this is you have to define your benchmark roles and the related levels in those roles. So like I said, a lot of times we think about a particular person. Let's, for example, use the one I've already used, the example of a driver. And we think about this driver who has this role who we pay X to. Say, let's just call it $20 an hour for now as a simple even number. I pay this driver $20 an hour. And so that's the wage that I'm paying them. And so what I want you to do, though, is start and think about if that role had an evolutionary structure to it, such that when they first start with my company, they're in the first level. Let's call that the first 90 days. And the first 90 days is often that period of time where you're even deciding, are you going to keep them or not? Are they a good cultural fit? Do they show up on time? Do they do all the things we need them to do? So let's say that driver R1 is the first level in a driver's role within your company. Now, if they hit that 90-day period, when they're hired, they're given a particular wage. They're likely not given any commissions because that's not part of it. There's likely no bonus attached to it. There's likely no performance bonus. All you're trying to see is, will they make the cut? I often say that the first 90 days, they're still being hired. You're not completely hired. A person's not completely hired till they've hit 90 days. So your job in the first 90 days, when they're in this R1 category, your job is to go, do they fit? But once they've completed that step and they go to R2, and let's say this is 3 months to 12 months, in that time frame, then they move into a specific level of that driver job, first year driver job, that we'll call it the R2 level. And that R2 level has then attached to it a specific wage, and maybe they started at $20 an hour here, right, in R1, but now when they start here, they're $20.50. I'm just making this up in terms of numbers, but what I want you to think about is the process. So in R2, their wage changes because they hit that first 90-day mark. Now so they've learned the system, they understand how to work in the business, and maybe in R2, they're considered a support driver. And so there's a title attached with this. They're a support back or a learning driver or something like that. Once they go through that period of time, there's the wage attached to it. There's likely no commissions because they're not in sales. But maybe if they get through that period of time, by the end of the first year, and they've been with you a total of a year, there may be a bonus that comes with that, or a performance bonus based on specific set of criteria. That's a part of the benchmark roles and levels. Then let's say this is year 2. But year 2 might also include, they move from having a non-CDL and they get trained and they get their CDL license, right? So let's say if you have drivers that need to get CDLs, and that's their R3. And then R4, this might be CDL in a category A client facing operation. I'm just making this up, but I'm hoping you're getting the point. So you're actually defining the role of driver, but you're defining levels in that role that proceed over time and years. And this might be year 3, right? So year 2, year 3, year 4. And if they get through that whole section of steps, they may move into a brand new role, which might be driver or supervisor, right? They supervise other drivers. And I'm showing you that because what I'm wanting you to see is that there's a role, and then there's levels for those roles as they evolve and grow with your company. So we're not staying at a static number in our head. We're actually creating benchmark roles and levels to those roles, even if you're in a small company. And the reason I'm suggesting you think about this is because if you're going to think about total rewards for an employee needs to know they're going somewhere, that they've got a future with you, and it's not just an endless, uncertain future that has a $20 an hour attached to it. We're building a future, and so the role itself, the driver role, then has a series of levels they go through, and attached to those levels will be some degree of understanding of wage, bonus, performance bonus, commission if it's sales related. But you're seeing the process unfold here. So that's the first step. Second step is now you need to define your competitive sets for each. And competitive sets are companies you need to market and recruit against to find employees who fit in these particular roles and levels of roles. So let's say we're looking at a driver in their R3 level. And what you need to do is go out and figure out what's the competitive set, and the competitive set being the compensation figures that might be available to them from your competitors or other people who may hire that kind of person in that kind of role at that kind of level. So not only are you defining the roles and levels, now you're defining the competitive sets in terms of what are other people doing as it relates to that. And as you see that, then you're also layering in defining and locating source data on each of those roles and levels. So where do you do that? Well, you can find things in the Bureau of Labor Statistics if you're in the US. Other governments have labor data that they usually collect in census kind of activity. That's often available. I know it was available in Canada. In the States, it's US Bureau of Labor Statistics. So that's one place you can find it. Salary.com likely is one of the largest purveyors of this kind of information, and you can get stuff free and you can get paid stuff there. Payscale, LinkedIn Salary, these are all places where you can go and find what's this particular role and is there layers to that. So on salary.com, you'll often see a chart that says if you're a entry level, you get paid this much. If you're experienced, you're going to get paid this much. This is the median. This is the average based on role and based on how much experience you have. And so those are the kind of places you're going to find it. You can also do your local detective work. And a lot of times local detective work means you call and find out information. You watch the classified ads for your competitors. You see what's happening out there, and then you figure out, well, what are they paying? How much are they paying? What are they offering as it relates to compensation? Because you're building out this benchmark structure for yourself. Consultants are also available. You can hire consultants who are HR-related consultants who actually have likely a paid subscription to salary.com or some of the derivatives of that. And then finally, you can go to job sites, and on job sites like Indeed, ZipRecruiter, they're often telling you that. You can go to places like Glassdoor. There's other places you can find this data, but ultimately what you want to do is you want to figure out, based on your roles and levels, is there a number attached to those? So once you've got that, then you draft your compensation ranges and roles for each level. So you're going to look at R1 and you're going to make decisions, R2, and you're just going to draft ranges for that so that you've got a model to work from in your business against that role. And as somebody grows through that role, you have something to work from. And so hopefully you're seeing the process here. Don't just get stuck with a person in a specific role and then ad hoc create, well, when do I give this person a raise? You've got a process that they move through as a way to define that. Then you're going to define future plans for increases. So if at every year, and like in the year we're currently in, inflation is significantly high, you may have a kicker basically that you add at the end of every year based on cost of living index, inflation numbers. Those kind of things can actually impact what your compensation ranges are within those roles and levels. And then finally, you're going to review those critical benchmarks every year. So why I'm telling you this and why I'm spending so much time here is because often the thing I see specifically in smaller companies is this has not been thought about a lot. And it doesn't have to be as aggressive as you don't need 5 levels for a entry-level driver, if that's because that's the example I'm using. You don't need it. You might only have 3, but you know in advance that a driver, a particular role, goes through a specific set of levels over a period of years, and that process actually creates compensation distinctions that include salary, wage salary combination, commissions if appropriate, bonuses, performance bonuses, how you think about all of that baseline package, which becomes the foundational element of a total rewards package. So total rewards just isn't how much I make in salary and bonuses. It's compensation is also where I'm going if I achieve certain marks in the process that help me to move forward in my job. That's the first level of total rewards, is getting compensation right. And once you've got that right and you've got that stable, then you have the first factor, really looked after. It's not that it doesn't change and not that it doesn't evolve. That's why you're reviewing them, your benchmarks yearly. But now you have a model to work from as you think about total rewards. All right. Secondly, we're going to go to benefits, the second category. Benefits to me are highly tied to compensation. Employees see them as deeply connected. My compensation, the actual salary or wage I make plus the bonuses, is deeply tied to the benefits that I'm offered. And these are the benefits that get a lot of weight right now. First, health insurance. Health insurance is a huge one. And depending on which country you're in, if you're in the US, health insurance is a massive one. If you're in a country that provides socialized medicine, Canada, Europe, then it's the derivative health insurance plans that come along that you offer. The second one is paid time off and vacation time. This is an important specific thing. Do you offer X amount of PTO? What's that PTO look like? How does it impact sick days? How does vacation time get layered in? How do you process that as a part of somebody's total reward package? What are you doing with retirement contribution plans? Do you have a 401k plan, a matching one, RRSPs in countries like Canada? Whatever your retirement contribution structure is, that becomes a significant part of the benefit package that's tied to the total reward. So I'm going to show up and work for you, and in turn, you're going to give me salary, plus you're going to give me benefits. And I know you're paying for those things. I know that those are things you pay for. They're part of your P&L, but it's really important that you think about those. Life insurance is another one that's a really important one. Dental and vision insurance. Well, health insurance might be one. Dental and vision may be either a completely unique package or integrated with health insurance or supplemental health insurance. But it's an important one. Disability and critical illness insurance. Those are other ones. Paid parental leave. This one's growing its importance on a regular basis. Don't underestimate the importance of paid parental leave. Is it paid time off? It's different than that, but it's something to be aware of. And then finally, legal benefits. Do you provide legal benefits? That's another one you can offer. So the thing to think about here with the benefits package you offer is, how do I layer in a specific set of things that employees believe are deeply tied to their salary or wage. These things can often, a lot of times, at least in smaller companies, this is seen as a major hassle. And I would suggest to you that you see this more as an investment, as a way to improve the total rewards that are offered to your employees. The strategy here is to really think about, is there more that I can do here? Can I adjust how I manage my benefit package? Is there a way that I can either up the amount that I pay? Is there a way that I can add another benefit into the system? Again, this is a cost to you, but it's a total reward to your employee. And so I think it's really important that as you think about your total reward strategy, that you really go back and look at what benefits am I offering as a way to entice people to sense that the total package they're getting from me is actually really competitive and strong and makes me want to stay. All right, next one. And this one may seem like, well, it's a benefit, but I think it's a slightly different one, which is why I categorize it differently. I believe in the whole COVID, and I think leading into COVID, that whole period that we've gone through in the last few years has really pushed well-being as a major contributor to total rewards. And it's done so because people have felt so off balance. And so parts of these, and they may be considered a benefit, but I'm distinguishing them because it's a different way of looking at it. Things like employee assistance programs, both for work and for personal life stuff. Employee assistance programs are really designed to help employees with some of the struggles they face. And a lot of times as owners, executives, entrepreneurs, we're not always aware totally of what's going on in that world. But if we have ways to engage and provide assistance to employees that isn't specifically about their duties with us or their capabilities with us, but it's about their life in general, that can be a part of a total rewards package. Mental health and emotional well-being programs. This doesn't mean you have to pay for counseling for every employee or things like that, but it may mean that you bring in on a quarterly basis people that can offer ways of thinking about employees' health and well-being. It may be really understanding that this is a struggle for people, and by integrating some either training opportunities, some supportive opportunities, you may help with mental health and emotional well-being within your environment as an extra in the well-being category. A work-life balance. More and more people are demanding a work-life balance. And so if you're not talking about this, if this is not part of the conversation you're having, then you may be missing a major total rewards thing. Just to remind you, your employees don't think like you do, nor do they want to. If you're an owner who works 80-hour weeks or is obsessive compulsive about being at the office at 6 a.m. and not leaving till 8, whatever it looks like to you, just know that your employees think you're crazy. So don't assume they're going to want your balance. Whatever your balance is, to them, it's off. That's why they're not entrepreneurs. That's why they're working with you and for you. So it's really important for you to make sure that you're delivering a work-life balance to them in a way that makes it seem like it matters to you. That's ultimately a part of their total reward, that they don't have to be like you, but they get paid, they get benefits, and they have this work-life balance that is really focused on making sure their well-being is looked after. Is it a positive workplace? Do you have fun? Do you have team and teamwork? Are there outings? Are there things that get added to them that come from the perspective that you have, that you are looking after your employees' well-being? That's a factor in total rewards. So we've got compensation, we've got benefits, and then we have well-being as the third major factor in a total rewards program. Let's look at this next one, recognition. If you don't provide a mechanism in your business for recognition, it's not a total rewards package. Every total rewards structure that I've seen always includes recognition in it. So if you're not doing that, if you don't have a way to practice this in your business, then it's not a total reward package. And these are things, and this doesn't mean financial. This means this is an intangible one in terms of numbers on your P&L, but it's representative of a way of thinking about total rewards. Things like performance, service, and leadership awards. So actually awarding people for specific things they're doing within your business. Specific performance activity that's happened. This does not mean bonus. This does not mean performance bonus. This means the act of doing it is recognized in a formal or informal way, but it is elevated as a part of your ongoing practice in your business. Service anniversary recognition. That's something weirdly that people love. Weirdly, I don't think so. I think all of us celebrate. It's a way of thinking about how long I've been with this company, how much I've contributed. And so it's really important for you to find ways to recognize those anniversaries. Appreciation and acknowledgement, publicly and privately, not for performance, service, or leadership specific things, but for other stuff that happens, for things that are done in really cool and interesting ways, for savings that people have made, for innovations that they've brought to your business, for going beyond the call of duty. All those kind of things need to be appreciated and acknowledged, both directly to that person by you as the owner or the leader, and in more formal ways in front of other people on the team. Social shoutouts. This is becoming more an important thing because of the social media environment our staff live in. So actually stating on your LinkedIn profile what a cool job that somebody did is a great way to add recognition into the system. Peer-to-peer recognition, if you're doing it to your team as leadership, as executives, then there needs to be some kind of structure also in place for people to do it for each other. Is there systematic ways that you're having people recognize each other for the good work they're doing? Recognition is a part of total rewards. It's always a part of total rewards. Don't miss it. Don't leave this one to chance. Next, professional development. Development as a whole, personal and professional development, is a really important part of total rewards. And I take you back to the roles that we talked about in compensation, the roles and the levels. And so it's really important for people who work for you to know they're going somewhere, to see a better future as a result of working with you. And when you've thought about roles and the way people progress through your organization, even if you're small, and that might not, there might not be growth into the next job because there might not be enough opportunity, but you can progress them through roles, and each of those roles might have distinctive learning or education that's required, or certification, or some specific capability that needs to happen. Then what you're doing with your employees is developing these mutually beneficial development plans. It's beneficial to you as a company because they grow into these roles you need them, but it's beneficial to them because they see a future with you. If all they are is a cog in your wheel, they're not engaged. It's not a reward to them, but it is if they see some kind of development. So how's this done? Often IDPs, individual development plans, learning plans, ongoing development that happens on a regular, recurring basis, that's talked about, that's distinguished, that includes plans to move forward, plans to ensure that they're trained, plans to ensure that they have a next step to go to, a next level that they're achieving, training and learning opportunities. And this is not always about those specific roles they're in. It may be, I've heard of companies who are doing now learning opportunities, and this relates to well-being, but they're connected and they're always interconnected. Training on financial literacy, teaching their staff how to be financially literate, teaching them all kinds of interesting things that aren't always associated specifically with your business, but are a part and parcel of delivering professional development to your team. Individual learning plans and development plans require consistent feedback and review. So if you're not adding feedback and review, then you're missing something as it relates to professional development. Access to coaching occasionally and sometimes, and there's companies that any member of their team has access to coaching. This can be, while it could be considered a benefit that you have to pay for, it's still an important thing to actually help with professional development. And interestingly enough, in the education field, they have this whole thing called sabbatical. So if you've worked for a certain period of years, maybe 10 years, you're given a 3 or 6 month sabbatical to go off and write your book, or go off and study in another country, or do an exchange with another business or another operation so that you can learn it. I think you should consider that as a part of your total rewards package. So if somebody's been with you 10 years, is there an opportunity to actually give them this next level sabbatical that has mutual benefit for you and for them? So that's that's professional development as a part of total rewards. And then finally, we hit the final one, and this is perks. And I believe perks aren't really fitting into any of these previous 5. They're a unique category of their own. And I think they're really cool because they're like the glue. They're like glue to people. And because they're like glue, they're more about feel and fit and things that happen because they're a part of your company, as opposed to part of a compensation package. They're not how much they get paid. They're not the benefits. They're not learning. They're not well-being. They're these extra things. And for example, integrated family support. There are companies that provide different levels of integrated family support, whether it be ways to make sure kids are looked after before school and after school, in that time when parents still work at their businesses. A big one is pet friendly or pet welcoming offices. My goodness, this is a glue one. People may take a dramatically different job and at reduced rate in order to have their dog at work with them. I've got a client who allows dogs at work. Not my thing. But when dogs come to work, my goodness, people love that. It is massive glue. Flexible hours, time for volunteer activity. That's a big one. And that's growing more and more right now. Is a perk of being part of your company is every quarter, a day is a paid day, allows you to go and work for and support a volunteer organization, a not-for-profit in your community. On-site food, gym, all those kind of things that have been around. These are often considered the perks. And yet I'm giving you a whole bunch more to consider. Employee discounts. These are the kind of perks that come with working with you. And you may have those already, but I want you to think about those, because what I've tried to do is give you some ways of thinking about this so that you understand that pay is more than pay. If you want to think about total rewards, it's the entire package, including perks. And perks are like that thing that just grabs onto people and goes, I don't want to leave here. I don't want to give up this. I don't want to give up pets. I don't want to give up the cool coffee maker we have at our company. Strangely, those are the kind of conversations I've had with people, and they love those perks more than anything else. The pay, the benefits, the training, well-being, that's all important, but the perk is the thing that keeps them connected. So I've gone through those because I really want you to understand that those 6 categories you need to have a strategy around. You need to think about them. Don't just think about pay. Think about the whole total rewards structure and how you at your company can integrate those. I realize this is a combination of things, and that's why I've put this lovely picture of a combination lock. I don't think there's a formulaic way. Obviously, we know compensation is a critical element of this. Benefits really tie to compensation because that's what you hire people against, those 2 things. But these 4 up here, how you add those to the mix is a really unique combination to you based on your culture, based on your location, based on the style, based on just the type of business you have. If all you have is drivers, a pet-friendly environment's probably not going to be that effective, because you probably don't want dogs in vehicles with drivers, as an example. If you've got a factory situation, that doesn't work either. But if you've got an office environment where people sit at desks all day and there's a comfort level with having dogs around, and you've got a mechanism that allows, or you've got a way to allow dogs to manage their food and what they have to do, and going outside, and you obviously have to have the property to do this, but those are the kind of things that become part of the unique combination that you have to make. I think it's really important to decide what do I already have here, because we don't think about total rewards a lot in this way. What am I already doing that would be considered a part of this equation? A lot of times these are well defined right now. At least compensation and benefits, not necessarily in the roles and levels I discussed, but at least compensation and benefits, you know what your numbers are, you know how you deliver them, and you do it that way. But how might you already be doing something in well-being, recognition, development, and perks? You may already have some in place that I think you need to clarify for yourself so you know they're there. And then, is there anything else I should add? You don't have to add 95% of what I've just talked about. What you have to do is know that I should be considering something in every one of these categories. I need to really augment if I'm missing something in, say, my recognition category, if I'm missing something in my development category. Is there a perk I need to add for coming to work with us? And whether you're remote, whether you're hybrid, whether you're all on site and everybody comes to the office, you can find something that fits each of these categories. So But it's a combination, and it's a unique combination to you in your business, your style, what you like, what you can put up with, what you're willing to pay for, how you're willing to pay for it. But recognize that now more than ever, you need to understand this whole package of things. Once you have a package of things defined, you need to talk about it. A lot of times, the only thing we talk about, again, is these two bottom layers. We're not talking about the rest. We don't spend a lot of time talking about these things. But once you have a total reward structure in place and you've defined specific strategies within those, and you've delineated a way to document those, then make sure you talk about it. Make sure your employees know about it. Make sure that they're embracing and engaging with you on those particular rewards that are made available to them. The caveat to that is this: don't overbalance specific things. Don't talk about things in a way that doesn't make sense to your employees. It might make sense to you, but it might not to them. I'm going to give you an example. I was talking to somebody once, and let's go back to the dog, a pet-friendly office. Well, the owner in this case, or the person I was talking to in this case, just looked at the cost of doggy daycare in their city and came up with a number, and that doggy daycare number became to them a number that was part of their total compensation. And they brought that number down and made it somehow fit down here. And my point was, no, you don't do that, right? That's counterbalancing in the wrong way. Compensation is compensation. So compensation is structured, benchmarked salary, bonuses, performance bonuses against a specific set of criteria. That's a hard number. They get paid that, minus their taxes, minus their deductions. They get paid that. Benefits are a very clear, defined thing. Don't go attaching numbers to perks. Talk about that perk as glue. Talk about that development line as a benefit of being part of, as a reward for being an employee here. But don't talk about it as a number. Don't talk about it as a number, because what you do is then you talk about it, but you talk about it the wrong way. And really what that does is creates a negative feel for people. I bring my dog to work and that's somehow my salary. No, don't do that. That's counterbalance. That's getting the balance wrong. Keep the balance right, because you understand that compensation is compensation, and perks and some of these other total reward elements are actually not connected to a financial amount. They're connected to a reward amount. They're rewards. They're intangible a lot of times. And so it's important to get that. Then on a regular basis, once you've engaged this, you've got to think about reviewing it. Does this provide value to your team? Because if you've got a perk, or you've got a particular recognition, development, well-being, or a benefit that people aren't using, is there value in it? Is there apparent value in it? How does that impact cost? Like, what are the costs of this to you? And again, don't always see this just as a cost on your P&L. See it as an investment. But is the investment actually creating an ROI, and does it create impact? If it's not creating ROI or impact in terms of this, are we growing satisfaction? Is my team engaged? Is it improving retention? Does it allow me to attract better employees because I have a total rewards structure that makes sense to them? Is performance overall, individually and overall, increasing in my company? Have we become more competitive because people are connected, they're engaged, they're doing all these things? That's the ROI. Is their value being produced? And it's really important that you check in on this on a regular basis to make sure that that's working for you. So we've looked at total rewards. We've looked at the 6 major categories of that. Your task, if you've watched this, is to go back through this now. Start with compensation. That's the important bottom line. And so if you're thinking in terms of compensation as just what I pay somebody an hour or per year, you got to go further than that. You got to think about that role that they're in and the levels that they can go through and build out something like that. Look at your benefits. Are there benefits you could add that could support a more complete total rewards package? Are you engaging in some kind of well-being initiatives in your business that will help to grow the sense of well-being of your team members? Do you have a recognition mechanism in place? Is there something that you can add into your ongoing process that allows your team members to feel like they're being recognized both in a formal way and in informal ways? Are you providing development plans? Are you providing a development environment? And then do you have that lovely little extra, that little bit of glue called a perk? What perk or perks are you offering that are separate from, that are very intangible in terms of related to money, but they're the thing that people go, oh, I love working here because of X. I love working here because of X. That's the thing that you want people to say as it relates to perks. So your job is to go back through and go, do I have something that covers? And then go implement them, test them, try them, see if you can find a way to improve your total rewards. And as a result, I think that strategy in your business will reap potentially cool results. I hope that helps. If you got any questions, let me know. I'm happy to talk to you about these, specifically about this, because I think it's a model that we've missed, especially in smaller businesses, that you need to consider, that you need to add to your thinking, you need to add to your business going forward. Hope that helps. We'll talk to you soon.